Know Thyself. Written and narrated by Peter J. Merrick. This weekend, I did not have anywhere I needed to be. I poured myself a coffee before sunrise and walked for the harbor, just as I often do. The city was still quiet. The restaurants had not opened. The boats moved gently with the tide, and for a little while the world was asking nothing from me. A young couple walked past me laughing. A man ran by with his headphones on. An older gentleman sat alone on a bench watching the water. Then something happened that made me smile. Within seconds, my mind had written a story about all three of them. The young couple must have a wonderful relationship. The runner must have incredible discipline. The older gentleman must be lonely. The truth was, I had absolutely no idea. Apparently, this old fart still believes he can understand another person's life after about 3 seconds. It turns out my imagination has always been much faster than my judgment. That thought stayed with me for the rest of my walk. It also made me wonder how often we all do the same thing. Someone buys a larger home. Someone announces a promotion. Someone posts photographs from Italy. Someone looks deeply in love. Within seconds, our minds quietly finish writing the story. They are happier. They have less stress. They have life figured out. The funny part is that we usually have no idea whether any of those stories are true, yet something inside us changes. Not because our lives change, because our story did. Our family is still our family. Our relationships are still our relationships. The coffee in our hand still tastes the same. Tomorrow morning is still waiting for us. Only the story changed. That simple observation led me to another thought. Perhaps every one of us lives in two worlds. There is the world as it is. Then there is the story we tell ourselves about the world. The longer I live, the more I wonder if those are not always the same place. Years ago, I came across one Sanskrit word that has stayed with me ever since. Maya. It is usually translated as illusion. For years, I thought it meant the world was the illusion. Today, I wonder if the illusion is often much closer than that. Perhaps it is believing every story our minds create without ever stopping long enough to ask whether it is true. That thought quietly changed something inside me. For much of my life, I looked outside myself for answers. Success, recognition, relationships, and approval. Like many people, I quietly hoped that if enough pieces finally fell into place, I would eventually feel like I was enough. Looking back, I do not think I was searching for success. I think I was searching for myself. Maybe many of us are. The strange part is that the outside world has never really answered that question. Our own minds answer it. We look at what is happening around us, create a story, and then slowly begin living as though the story were reality. Perhaps that is why two simple words have survived for thousands of years. Know thyself. Not know your title, not know your reputation, not know your income, not know what everyone else thinks about you. Simply know thyself. That sounds wonderfully simple until we actually try it. Apparently, it is much easier to clean the garage, check the markets, or convince ourselves another cup of coffee is somehow helping our spiritual growth than it is to sit quietly and simply watch our own thoughts. Trust me, this old fart has become remarkably talented at finding important things to do just before spending a few quiet minutes with himself. The older I get, the more I have begun to wonder about something else. If we never question the stories we tell ourselves, do those stories quietly begin making our decisions for us? If I believe I am not enough, I may spend years trying to become enough. If I believe my worth depends upon approval, I may spend years chasing applause. If I believe my identity comes from the outside world, I may quietly hand the outside world permission to define me. Maybe that is why so many voices compete for our attention every day. Not because they can control us, because they hope to shape the stories we tell ourselves. Perhaps real freedom begins much closer to home. Perhaps it begins the moment we become aware that we are telling ourselves a story, not so we can argue with it, simply so we can ask, is it true? This old fart still catches himself comparing. I still catch myself making up stories. The difference is that now I usually catch myself a little sooner. Then I smile. Nice try, old fart. That little smile creates a little space. Inside that space lives awareness. Inside awareness lives choice. Inside choice lives freedom. Maybe growing has never been about becoming someone different. Maybe it has always been about seeing ourselves a little more clearly. I have also noticed something else. The conversations I remember most did not happen online. They happened sitting across from another human being. 2 cups of coffee, no performance, no audience, just 2 people asking honest questions and listening long enough to hear the answers. Perhaps real connection has never changed. Only the technology has. Tomorrow morning, before you reach for your phone, before the world begins telling you what matters, before your mind quietly begins writing another story, pour yourself a cup of coffee. Sit quietly, watch your own mind with kindness, then ask yourself one simple question. What story am I believing today? And is it really true? Do not answer too quickly. Some questions are not meant to be answered, or perhaps they are meant to be lived. Peter J. Merrick, A.K.A. Old Fart, still growing, still laughing at himself, still catching himself believing stories, his own mind, quietly writes, and quietly wondering if the greatest journey any of us will ever take is not across the world, but across the distance between the stories we believe and the truth waiting patiently beneath them.